Well, throughout the past week, we've been bringing you stories about heading back to music school in a variety of contexts. One of the easiest ways to return to the classroom is through the Music Equals program at the Manitoba Conservatory for Music and Arts. The program welcomed almost 2,000 participants last year, and they're excited to welcome even more participants to join in a wide range of musical programming with an emphasis on making sure that everyone can access it. Domanie Schadek is the Director of Programming and Fund Development with the Manitoba Conservatory for Music and Arts. She joins us live in the Classic 107 studios today. Nice to see you, Domanie.
Thanks for having me, Nolan.
So, for those who have never had the privilege of interacting with this program, what is Music Equals?
So the Music Equals program is an outreach program that is administered by the Manitoba Conservatory of Music and Arts. And the goal is to create and increase accessibility and to create musical opportunities where they wouldn't normally exist.
Okay, so it's a program also that collaborates very closely with community stakeholders to try and design programs based on what you're hearing from the community about what maybe they would like to study when it comes to music or how it interacts with the culture more broadly here in the city. What does that process look like for the conservatory to work alongside community stakeholders to make this kind of programming happen?
Yeah, so the Music Equals program sets itself apart by not going into the community and assuming that we have the answers for everybody. So a big part of my job is actually meeting with the community organizations that we work with. That's communities in Winnipeg, other nonprofit organizations, individual schools in various school divisions, northern communities, et cetera, et cetera. And so those conversations just begin with what their goals are, what are they lacking, and what would they like to see happen? What do they want the people in their community to achieve, what's going to improve the circumstance of the people who live there and participate in their programming.
So you're not just forcing some kind of musical type of learning or even a genre onto a community. This is very much about what do you want to have happen musically in your community, and then how do we make that happen? So what is that next step like then? If once you've met with those stakeholders to then say, okay, how is this actually going to work now?
Yeah, it's very community driven. And like I said, it starts with those conversations of, what do you need? What would you like to see happen? And then we look at, okay, what structures are currently in place? What resources do you have? So for example, Music Equals started back in 2005, just doing individual fiddle lessons at William White School. And that's sort of like the history of the program. And, fast forward 20 years later, we have an instructor in the school and they notice that they have 10 keyboards that are just not being used by the school at all. They have no music program. They didn't have a music teacher at the time. And so that was like, well, how can we use these instruments that you already have? What's going to benefit your students? And so now we have a keyboard program there. Right?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So that, of course, we've talked about keyboards, talk about violins. Already a wide range of programming within Music Equals that goes far beyond even those instruments or genres. What kinds, maybe we can go into a bit of an overview here about what kinds of things Music Equals is going to be offering this year for the aspiring music student, regardless of ability or age.
Yeah, so, we do everything from fiddle to musical theater. We have a performance program for adults. So it's not just for kids in school. So we do have some adult programming as well. And again, it just sort of depends, what we want to see happening in the community. But we also have some goals as an organization as well. We're hugely committed to truth and reconciliation. So we think about, how can we start to really think outside the box and really impact the community in a positive way. So one of our newest programs that we piloted last year was based on the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra's programming for the Ojibwe Spirit Horse Project. And so we actually, because we'd had some programs that involved drum making workshops, Indigenous drum making workshops, and now we had all these drums in the schools that needed to be used. So we had an elder go back in and teach them the music that the symphony had performed and composed. So the kids actually learned how to sing and to drum to those songs. And then the kids went out to the stable where we had a partner who has 4 Ojibwe spirit horses, and they actually drummed for the ponies and got to interact with them and meet them. So the programming isn't about creating musicians, right? Like we do that. We create these amazing little musicians and these people who love music, but it's really based on creating these shared experiences that's going to positively impact the community in ways that you would never think possible, right? Who would think that a music conservatory, I was going to go out to a barn and drum for horses, right? Like,
Yeah.
It was amazing. And it was an amazing day.
Well, what a holistic approach to music education as
Yes.
well that goes beyond that sort of traditional conservatory model.
Yes.
So you mentioned that programming that was unique to last year and the
Yeah.
Spirit Horse returns alongside the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. What are maybe some new offerings that people can maybe get excited about this year?
So this year, we're still, obviously having to wait on some funding confirmations, and that is always, going to be the driving force. So, that's something that's always in consideration. So this year, we'd like to build on some of the pilot programs that we did last year and to see how those look, to sort of take the lessons that we learned in piloting those programs and then begin to expand on them and to make them part of our regular programming this year.
Okay. Now, as part of that expansion of your programming for Music Equals in the last little while has been getting outside of Winnipeg as well. What can you tell us about how Music Equals has expanded, particularly into northern Manitoba?
Yes, so we are the Manitoba Conservatory of Music and Arts, and so the goal is to create accessibility for all Manitobans. A couple of years ago, our executive director and I went up to Churchill and spent some time in the community during one of their music festivals. It's during their Winterruption Festival, and really got to know some community stakeholders, and so we made some connections there, which then also led to some connections in places like Thompson and Flin Flon and throughout the communities. So last year we did pilot some programs in Oxford House and St. Teresa Point. And so that was some early childhood programming for young parents and babies aged 0 to 3. And we also piloted some guitar programs. So we have this terrific partner. His name is Srini Reddy, and he works with the Rotary Club of Winnipeg. And so he is magic and was able to get all these instruments up to these northern communities, which is half the battle. And then we were able to provide the instruction. So that occurred virtually for right now, but the goal is to be able to go in there in person as well. There's obviously some traveling challenges to get through. A lot of those northern communities are fly-in only. So it's a work in progress, but so far so good. We've got some really great partnerships happening, and we'll see where it goes.
Absolutely. What, for those who are interacting with these programs, with Music Equals, be they here in Winnipeg or in communities like St. Teresa Point as an example, what effect do you see it having on the participants when they are involved in something that's not necessarily designed to make them a musician, but brings them into a musical community in an accessible way?
Yeah, music is this intensely rewarding shared experience that we see the participants experience. It's about just creating these positive social networks for everybody who's involved, looking at music through a wellness lens to see how we can really improve the lives of people. And so a lot of things that we see is this, there's the strengthening of community, building positive peer networks so kids feel supported. There's huge links to improved academic success like numeracy and literacy skills. Those are all the types of outcomes that we look for. But it's really just, I think just seeing that the way it changes some of the kids. I just always share the story of, we have our big concert at the end of the year, and there was this young kid. He was supposed to go up in with 2 other students. There's supposed to be 3 of them playing. One of them was sick, wasn't at the concert. And one of them just right before they went on stage was like, I can't, she wouldn't go. So this kid went out by himself and he started to play, and he was with an instructor, and about halfway through he just got lost and, started to sort of put his instrument down and just looked totally defeated. And there was this group of about 300 other students in the audience, and they all stood up and cheered for him, and he put his instrument back up and finished. And it was just this moment that I feel like that kid is going to remember for the rest of his life, that there's support out there in places you would never expect it. And that's kind of the whole point, right?
Absolutely. If someone is looking to join up with Music Equals, and I can't imagine why you wouldn't after hearing such a wonderful story like that on a Tuesday morning. How can people get in touch, and how can they get enrolled into a Music Equals class?
So it depends what you're looking for. A lot of our programs are run through the Winnipeg School Division at various schools. So those programs are available through the schools that we partner with. We do have several community programs that are run through the Manitoba Conservatory itself. So you can always visit our website, which is www.mcma.ca. They can always call our office. There's just get in touch with the Manitoba Conservatory, but the website will always have any programs that are that we register through the school available on the website, and any other information you can always just call the office.
So you mentioned before, none of this can happen without the financial support of a wide variety of funding bodies or even individuals. If people are hearing this and going, this sounds like a really worthwhile thing to donate to, how can they send in their donations?
So again, if you go to our website, there is a donate button. So we are always accepting any donation over $20 as a tax receipt is available for you. You can also call the office.
Perfect.
A big way to help is for us to have like that continuity of funding. So a huge goal for us is to have monthly donors. So please call our office if you're interested in getting involved.
Okay, so. And we'll link all that information, by the way, at our website, classic107.com, and the Classic 107 app in just a little while. If somebody's listening to this, maybe by way of a last question here, Domanie, if they're listening to this and they're saying, I don't really know where to start with this. I want to be involved in a musical community, but I don't know how music will manifest itself in me. What's maybe a Music Equals class or an opportunity that they might consider just to get their feet wet in the world of music?
Well, especially if you have small children, like if you just, I firmly believe that getting kids started from the very beginning, from the time they're infants, it does affect them positively from the very beginning. So we do have an online program called Baby Beats, which is intended for babies age 0 to 3 with a caregiver. It's completely free. We will have the registration and information available on our website shortly for that. And the great thing about it being virtual is that there's no class capacity. So it's accessible to everybody across the province. And that's a great way to get kids and their caregivers involved in music right away. Builds that community, builds those musical skills. That's probably the best way from the very earliest stage.
Amazing. What about for maybe the adult who's thinking, oh man, maybe did I miss the boat on this? I feel like I have that song in me. I feel like I have that musical need in me, but maybe is it too late for me? I'm thinking about putting my virtual instrument down, like that kid you were talking about before.
Yeah.
What's the best way for maybe what's the best class for an adult?
Well, it's never too late, right? Never too late. The Manitoba Conservatory of Music and Arts in itself is a nonprofit organization. So we do have a regular lesson program that takes students of all ages. We have several adult classes. Everything we have like intro to musical theater for adults, ensemble singing, blues singing. There's a lot of vocal classes for adults. We do have a subsidized program coming up as well. That's a DJ academy for adults.
Okay.
Yes. So hopefully that will be back shortly. I don't know the dates yet, but just keep checking back for more information. And those are some of our adult opportunities. But it's just my message is it's never too late. Like even as an adult learner, you don't have to have. I just really feel like we get into this place where we feel like we're only supposed to do things if there's like a chance of like making a career out of it or doing some sort of monetary gain. And it's okay to do things just because you like them. It's okay to do something sort of mediocre, but it brings you joy. Like that's important to have that in your life. So it doesn't really matter if you're 8 or 80, just do it, right? Like
you're offering a lot of pearls of wisdom for us here on the Classic 107 airwaves this morning, Domanie. It's been really wonderful hearing from you about Music Equals. We'll have more information, as I say, at our website later on today, classic107.com and the Classic 107 app. Domanie Schadek, thank you so much for stopping by the Classic 107 studios to tell us more.
Thanks, Nolan.